Why has the brain got caught in this narrow circle of the self? The self, the me, the ego and all that is nothing but words and memories. It's so. It is so. And that self has become so terribly important. And when one is concerned with oneself, all our actions must be psychologically limited. And where and where there is limitation, there must be conflict. I am a Jew. You are an Arab. That's a limitation. A tribalism which is limited. And I cling to my limitation, and you cling to your limitation, and therefore the perpetual conflict. If you are constantly repeating, I'm a Russian, and identified with that particular country, tradition, language, and all the literature of that country, it's very, very limited. So, we have reduced the brain seeking security in the self has made itself limited, psychologically. So there is a contradiction between the psychological limitation and the extraordinary, limitless technological progress. Is this the function of the brain? To live perpetually in conflict. And therefore, there is never a liberation, a freedom. Is this the function of the brain? Just to live in a small area, psychological. And is it possible, when one understands the nature of the self, as we briefly explained, is it possible to break down this limitation? And who is to break it down? You understand? This limitation has been brought about by thought. Thought which has created or sought in the limitation security. And thought itself is limited. Because thought is the outcome of vast experience, accumulated knowledge, stored in the brain, in the very brain cells. No, the speaker is not an expert. I've watched very carefully. And thought is the outcome of memory. Right? As memory is limited, knowledge will always be limited. And experience is never complete. You understand? So, the brain is functioning with the only instrument, the limited thought. Is this clear? Are we moving together? And so, we are perpetually living in conflict, in struggle, in pain and sorrow. Because we seek security in the limitation. In memories, and so on. That's simple. So is it the function of the brain to find security, survival, physical survival? One must survive physically, unless of course one is a little bit dotty, then that's a different matter. But one seeks physical security and also psychological security. Is there psychological security at all? Please, don't accept this. Go into it very carefully with the speaker. Together we are examining. We are not imposing a thing on you. We are not trying to convince you of anything. I really mean this. We are not trying to convert you to some philosophy, which is I'm not, please. So we are together, walking, perhaps hand in hand, down a lane, shady, full of dapple light, and the beauty of the earth around us. And we're talking about serious things, not petty little things, because we're both serious. And we say, is this what we have reduced our life to? Just seeking self-security in the limitation. And physically, there is no security because of wars, of racial, tribal conflict, ideological conflict between the Russians, the totalitarians, and the so-called democratic, the West and the East. They are preparing for war, you know that. Of course, they won't listen. You can't talk to the politicians, because they're concerned to preserve their own position. You know, that's why I do it. So, we're asking, is that the only function of the brain? To seek security in limitation. That's what we are doing. And in the search for security in limitation, we are bringing about havoc in the world. Right? Such great disorder, confusion. It's again obvious. Now, what is the function of thought? Because that's the only instrument the brain has. We're all together in this? Please. What is the function of thought? What is thought? What is thinking? We all think. Whether you are highly educated, sophisticated, or the most uneducated person, hungry, very little food and all the rest of it, he also thinks. The sophisticated, the educated, the highly person who can express things clearly, he thinks. And the person who is not, he also thinks. So thinking is common to all of us. Right? It's not your thinking. You may think and express it differently. You may be artist, you may be a mathematician, biologist, and so on, and I may be layman, but we both think. So thinking is not yours. Thinking is not individual. Please, this is a fundamental thing to understand. And yet this is what we're doing. This is what I think. My opinion, my judgment, my values of opinions. Right? See what is happening to us. We have reduced the whole vast process of thinking as mind. Right?